In this episode of OG55, we are talking all about Spider-Man attractions. The Spider-Man attraction coming to Shanghai, the Spider-Man attraction coming to Hong Kong. In comparison to the Spider-Man ride we have out here in California, we're going to break it down, talk about it. Up next, we got our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in the house with us today, Mr. Michael Webba. Let's get it, get it. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55 Spider-Man Edition. It wouldn't be a Spider-Man show without Mr. Spidey himself, Mr. Webba. Well, welcome back, sir. How you doing, sir?
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on. This is going to be a very cool topic to talk about because this is something I think we're actually all really passionate about right here because of what we're going to bring up. I actually brought it to George before the show. But yeah, so again, thank you so much for having me on. Doing really well. As you can see, OG, I'm in a undisclosed Agents of Shield location right now. You know.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are doing top secret Agents of Shield kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Webba, where can they find you on social media? I know you're not really on X that much right now. Neither am I, by the way. It's
Right.
horrible over there. But where else can they find you?
Yeah, so besides X or Twitter, which I thought my account was still on there, but Threads and Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram. From what I understand, Threads is like the Twitter version for Instagram, like it's a chat thing for Instagram. But I'm on those two platforms. And yeah, you can find me there.
Perfect. The Italiano. Welcome back, sir. Where can they find you on social media?
Glad to be back on. And yes, you can find me on my social medias on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
We could say X, formerly known as a usable platform. That kind of works now.
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
Why don't you fix the bot problem, Elon, before you start trying to tinker with the block feature, right? I don't know. We'll have to do a whole show on that because we'll bring Seymour on for that one because that's a whole thing, dude.
Take care of those spider bots.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, George, beautiful segue. Speaking of spider bots, we have Shanghai Disneyland. They're getting a Spider-Man attraction now. This was actually announced at the D23 Expo a couple of months ago, right? Unfortunately, I didn't really get this news because I was too busy checking out the girl across the way. But George relayed the information to me after the fact and said, "Yeah, we're getting Spider-Man right over." Why are we? Oh, cool, man. No, just kidding. I'm playing. So no, George, this is fantastic.
Probably isn't.
semi joking. But I'll start with you, George. What do you think, man? Spider-Man. Basically, this is from the description. It says webs at the ready. An all new Spider-Man thrill attraction is coming to Shanghai Disneyland. Peter Parker himself has gotten himself and us in a bit of a tight spot. We're going to follow him at very high speeds to get us out of trouble. It looks kind of like a I don't know, what would you say, almost like a cosmic rewindy kind of thing, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, George?
Yeah, for a long time there were kind of rumors circulating that it was going to be a Spider-Man roller coaster. Disney had filed the permits for a roller coaster based ride in a empty expansion pad of land over at Shanghai Disney, and everyone was kind of saying, okay, this was going to be based off of a Marvel IP, so who better than Spider-Man? And I think it's a perfect fit to incorporate for Spider-Man to be incorporated into a roller coaster based attraction, because with roller coasters it's very windy, very zany. You go up, go down, you're moving all around. So to kind of move along with Spider-Man as he's swinging through the cityscape or what have you, I think is a perfect fit for that kind of attraction. And then also based on the concept art, it looks like you start off with a launch which kind of gives like the vibe sort of like Rock and Roller Coaster or the Incredicoaster. But
Right.
what is fascinating is when you look above, you kind of see like a broken section of the building where you see Spider-Man swinging. So I wonder if they're going to have a giant screen to kind of like overlay what's actually around you in the physical set form before you launch.
Yeah, it's possible. I thought there was more art to this, but let me see here. I thought that some of this was outside, but I could be mistaken. But it says here
There is one more piece of concept art. I don't know why they didn't add it, but it actually shows like the roller coaster going up a hill, and it shows Spider-Man swinging beside them.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Gotcha. So, Mr. Webba, what are your thoughts on this, man? Like in terms of like the idea of this kind of like Spider-Man coaster. Does this IP work for something like this, you think, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with everything George said, but yeah, it does absolutely work. Going to the coaster theme for a second. I think Disney and in like even other theme parks are really going towards like more of this kind of launch based system for coasters. Which is really fine by me because someone who's afraid of heights, I prefer just to be launched out instead of like the getting
Yeah.
that anxiety, having that fear of heights. So, I mean, the concept art looks really cool. Well, like it looks like you're in some type of like kind of technical, like high tech science factory or building or something like that. And looks like there might be some kind of like little explosions here. So it does work for Spider-Man because the coaster's fast. Spider-Man, you're swinging through the city. You're very quick. He's very agile, right? And that's kind of what a ride system needs for Spider-Man. Now, a coaster's not the only thing you can do for it, but it is one of those. And I think it does work well for Spider-Man. Not ours here in California, unfortunately.
One of the big issues I have with web slingers out here in California is the ride system, where it's like, I feel like the ride system is very big and clunky, which I feel when I think big and clunky, I don't think Spider-Man as a character. Like Spider-Man is lean, quick, nimble, like he's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I see something like these giant like toasters kind of like rolling along, it doesn't evoke Spider-Man energy to me at all. A coaster, absolutely, because again, you're quick, you're moving through these scenes, he's swinging above you, it works, absolutely works.
Exactly, and not only that, but also with this ride system, or like for the coaster, I like how it seems like part of the storyline is you're going with Spider-Man. You're not, and it seems like it's probably more involved, right? Than let's say here, and for our attraction, you're shooting spider bots. Like to me, that's not exciting superhero adventure. When I go on like a ride based off of like a superhero, I want it to have action packed fun adventure, right? And something relating to that character's world's like characters and story, right? So it looks like with the coaster, you're going to be going along with the ride for Spider-Man. He's going to be helping you, taking you through some whatever thing that's happening. So yeah, like that, right? Like you're going with Spider-Man, kind of being what he's like going through the city and like helping save the day from whatever, right? Not this, oh, I'm in the little toaster and preventing spider bots and shooting them because they keep self-replicating. Like that's, to me, that's not interesting.
And it's not even really a real threat. Like, I mean, like, ooh, we're being chased by something we'd find in a Toys R Us. Woohoo. Like, it's like...
Yeah. No, web slingers at DCA needs major work. The problem with web slingers at DCA is it's not even, like, for me, the spider bots are not even the main problem. I mean, for me, it's that ride system, and that's going to cost you an arm and a leg to redo that. I mean, seriously, I mean, that's the whole ride is the ride system, and it just doesn't work for that, and the thing is that when it comes to these attractions, the ride system is part of that experience. Like, for example, like Indiana Jones Adventure, that Jeep enhances the experience. It makes sense to you. It's telling a story, but with web slingers, it doesn't make any sense. Why are we in a giant toaster? I don't know. It doesn't feel right for this character.
Well, and also another thing too with the coaster, right? For a whole train, it has better ride capacity than the toaster does. What the toaster, you can fit 4 people per side. That's only 8 people. In a coaster, you can fit like 18 people or 20 on a coaster.
Yeah.
So already you already have a low capacity attraction over here in California. So
What
this
they
is going to give you a. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. This is going to give you what?
So I was saying, well, like, this is going to give you already a higher ride capacity, so you can move more people through the attraction.
100%. We have the KUKA arm technology. They're using it for Stark Flight Lab. So
Yeah.
what? And I know it's a Spider-Man ride, so maybe they don't want to go too intense, and I get that. But the KUKA arm, you can adjust the intensity. Why didn't they have a shooter ride? Like you could have the same idea where you're shooting, right?
Yeah.
But why don't you be strapped into the KUKA arm? So you're sitting in the KUKA arm and you're going up and down and you're shooting and there's screens and stuff, right? But that KUKA arm can kind of mimic Spidey going through the city much more realistically than that giant toaster could.
Right. And to your point, OG, right? So I just went to Universal this past Sunday, right? And even though the KUKA arm, the ride vehicle itself is low capacity, the great thing about it though, you still go through the quick, right? Because the KUKA arm, the loading station is kind of like that OmniMover style system where like you have to walk on the floor path. It just keeps moving, right? So that
Right.
still gets people through the attraction really quickly. So you can still have pretty much a high capacity ride with also the KUKA arm enabling you to get up close to the scenes. And that's what I love about the Harry Potter ride, that you get up close to the scenes right there. And if you have a Spider-Man ride where like you're shooting baddies going through the city, can you imagine you're getting close to the scenes? You're like, bah, bah, bah.
Or not
Like
even
that, right?
just the KUKA arm. Like, remember the patent ride system of that, like that swinging pendulum kind of ride vehicle? That would even been really cool, where where it feels like you're actually physically swinging
Waiting,
towards
right?
Spider-Man. But no, we get these oversized toaster strudel, boxes on wheels, and it's like, it just doesn't feel Spider-Man. Like that kind of ride system could probably fit other Marvel characters, but
Mhm.
I think that was just a very bad choice for Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah.
See, because so with Spider-Man, because I know we have the other attraction to get to, but with Spider-Man, and really, I guess any kind of adventure and superhero attraction, I really want to feel like I'm in a story and I'm like living that adventure, right? Like I'm going to I'm going against like a bad guy. I'm going through crazy scenarios where I can almost die in, right? Like you're living like that superhero kind of adventure. And that's what I want to go through the journey with the superhero in that. And in ours here, you don't do that, and it's not very satisfying.
Yeah, it was a Chapek era, and our web slingers actually, and our Avengers Campus really, kind of suffers the same fate and the same, unfortunate kind of circumstances as the Epcot remodel did, where Epcot remodel was right in the middle of the pandemic, right in the middle of it, and it was right when Chapek was like taking charge and all that stuff. Both of these things sort of impacted that Epcot remodel. Avengers Campus was that same kind of time frame, like the Pandy, Chapes was coming in, taking over. So we got like a very much like a Cliff Notes version of like a Marvel area. The Epcot thing was sort of similar, where it was like downsized or having problems still with the LED lighting on the ground, all that stuff. So both of those things are products of that time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So fortunate, because Spider-Man is such a massive franchise, you can do so much with it. Like we were talking about with the KUKA arm and stuff. You can get, like you were saying, Ebba, you can get closer to the screens. You can pull back. You can feel like Spider-Man, like you're really swinging with that KUKA arm. You can really feel like you're in that environment. And they just didn't go for it. Maybe one day we'll get something like that. Maybe one day they'll swap out, the ride vehicles and give us like a ride vehicle that matches that IP and that story better. We'll see.
Right.
But
not to mention too that, as you were mentioning, OG, Avengers Campus was really supposed to be in the Hollywood Land area that was going to extend out to the bus load unload area for the first attempt that they were trying to do the Eastern Gateway project. So the original intention for Avengers Campus and or Marvel was going to be massive. Who even really knows if Marvel would have ended up where Hollywood Land is still? Who even knows if it really would have been Avengers Campus? It might have been something completely different, and the Spider-Man attraction may have had the Kuka armor, or may have had the swinging pendulum kind of attraction, because they patented it, you know. So who knows really what that Marvel land would have been? But they had to kind of, as you mentioned, like how they did with Epcot, they had to kind of like dilute it in a sense because of the restrictions of where they had to put it, because the Eastern Gateway didn't get the green light. So they replaced the Bugs Land. So it's like, okay, well, how can we fit it in somehow? And it's like, okay, well, let's make Avengers Campus.
Right.
So, so it makes me think if it was even supposed to be a campus in the first place.
Well, and that's the thing. We talked about it with Bricky on a recent video with him, right? Where Disney likes to do this like kind of training stuff. But I think if you would have put Avengers Campus, if you would have had that Marvel property in Hollywood Land and just have attractions where you just are in the adventure, like, you know, you're not like Indiana Jones, you get in the Jeep and you go through an Indiana Jones adventure, literally the name and
exactly,
everything.
yeah.
Right. So I would like Marvel to do that. Like I get in a vehicle and I'm just living a Marvel adventure. I don't want to be, okay, recruits, we're going to train you for this and this, that, and the other, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to go and we're going to, you know, find some baddies. Now, when I say baddies, I mean villains in the MCU. I don't mean baddies like this.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you are
well, talking about, but like you could have like Doc Ock and all those guys in there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Do you both feel that Disney should have waited?
Well,
go ahead, Webba.
Well, so I'm gonna say I'm glad about that because it kind of goes to this point. Is I think the other reason why our version here is such a huge disappointment is because Disney really had a chance to really rival their Spider-Man ride with the one in Universal Florida, right? Because everybody raves about that Spider-Man attraction over there, and then all of a sudden we get this toaster box of Spider-Man. And it's like, what the hell is this?
Well, and that's why, Ebba, you can look back at my old videos back in the day when they announced that. It was like in 2017, I think, right? And I was on camera, and I was wrong. Look, seriously, I have no issue being wrong. That's why we speculate. When we speculate, it's total. There's a total possibility that we're wrong, and I'm fine with that, right? But I'm on camera saying, "Oh, guys, don't worry. There's no way Disney would even attempt a Spider-Man attraction if they're not planning to top the Universal one."
Look what happened.
Well, here's the thing. You're partially right. They are doing it in Shanghai and Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of which, you know, this looks really dope, dude.
Yeah.
Hong Kong Disneyland also gets Spider-Man. This looks like a Tower of Terror drop ride, but it says here that Hong Kong is also getting a Spider-Man themed attraction, and the details were just as thin as the announcement for Shanghai. However, a few things are clear. First, it's not going to be a clone of the Shanghai ride. It's a different attraction. The backstory, Tony Stark is showing his friend and Stark Industry intern, Peter Parker, some new inventions when something goes wrong. Classic attraction, right? Something goes wrong is different. Exactly. Second, it looks like Doc Ock is involved. So it has a real baddie, right? I'm saying a real baddie. And it looks like it's a Tower of Terror drop ride, which actually makes a lot of sense because the drops are it's Spider-Man and Doc Ock pulling and pushing and pulling your vehicle. That's incredible, you guys.
It's a tug of war.
It really is. It's like the actual ride is basically the friction of the battle itself, where when you feel yourself going up, it's okay, Spider-Man's trying to save you. When you're being pulled on, it's basically Doc Ock trying to send you to your demise. I mean, come on. Like
it's awesome.
So real quick, I know it's just concept art, but because I know like for Guardians, right, and the cage like on the top, it has like holes you can kind of see through, but not really because it's a little bit dark. But if you look at the concept art, like you can kind of see through the top and see the people in it. So I'm wondering if they'll have newer technology. Wouldn't be surprised because international parks, where they'll have maybe some type of cool like new tech to, like, where you can look out above you and see Spider-Man up there like doing his thing to help you and save you out or whatever.
And if that is the case, what they'll probably do is they'll probably bob the ride vehicle up and down, sort of kind of how they do with Mission Breakout, that it'll give you the opportunity to be able to visualize because if they just keep on having it go up and down, no one's ever really going to think to look straight up, and it, you know, the visuals would probably be kind of distorted in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, so they'll probably give you like moments where maybe the characters are talking amongst themselves, like interacting with dialogue that would give you the opportunity to look up and see Spider-Man above you.
Yeah, the dialogue inside your ride vehicle would probably be something like, you know, you have Spider-Man say, "Hey, everybody, look up here. I got you. Don't worry. I'm not gonna drop you. Just trust me. Trust me." You're looking up at Spider-Man, and that's when they drop you. You know, shit like that.
Right.
You know, and there's so much potential they can do. And I actually suggested in a video a long time ago, many moons ago. This was like pre-George. There's a lot. But like a possible IP for our Tower of Terror could have been Doctor Strange, because I think that could have been kind of dope to have. Like, you could have had like projection mapping in the drop shaft and the different kind of multiverses and dimensions. You can have shape shifting walls using projection mapping and create like really like trippy stuff, right? So there's a lot of potential with this drop system in Marvel. I love the Spider-Man concept. The fact that it has like, it looks like almost like a mesh or maybe even a glass top, and even side windows. If you see, there's like right here, like almost like a porthole. So it seems like there's like various viewings, like there's various ways to kind of view your experience, whether you want to look outside this window, which I think is a window because it has it on this side too.
Yeah.
Or you can look up above you or out in front of you. So I think it looks pretty dope, dude. This looks an interesting idea. Go ahead, Webba.
Yeah, sorry, because I was gonna say, because it looks like for this version, especially with like the current technology, you know, international like agent parks always get like the best tech in their rides. It looks like they kind of really want to envelop you kind of 360, you know, for, like a type of experience for this drop ride. So that way you can get all like the Doc Ock, the Spider-Man action, maybe also screens in front of you as well. If you stop or something, you see them go by, fight each other or something, right? So because if you look like, I know it's concept art, but if you look at like the purple fiery thing, right? It's coming from the bottom, and I think there might be some like ports where you probably can see that like kind of envelop like the vehicle, right? So that's what I'm kind of like thinking of. Maybe you'll have a lot more open space to view like the outside of the shaft, I guess, to see what's going on.
Yeah, no, I think, and this is the thing too, as disappointing as a lot of our Avengers Campus stuff is, I've always said this: Marvel as a franchise is a very, very like sky's the limit kind of franchise. Like the potential with all the various IP is endless, right? So even though we technically started with a pretty lackluster Avengers Campus, the potential, it's a seed planting move, because now they can put in more creative Marvel rides later on, right? Because we don't really know how much of Hollywoodland, if any of Hollywoodland is going to go for Pandora. It might go into the symbol lot, right? I mean, Hollywoodland might sit empty for 5 years, basically, again, right? With nothing going on. We don't know. Maybe they're saving Hollywoodland for Marvel, and that's why the Pandora is going to go into symbol lot. So there's potential there, but it was very much a seed planting thing with the Avengers Hallway, because now that you have established Marvel in this park, now you can start to expand and start to add cooler experiences, you know? So we'll see, we'll see how it all shakes out. But
hey, so really quick, so do you both feel that Disney should have waited with Avengers Campus?
Oh yeah, we didn't answer your question. Do I think it should have waited? I don't know. I mean, if they expand into the Hollywood backlot anyway, then it didn't no harm, no foul. I wasn't like personally invested into Bugs Land. I gotta be honest with you. I mean, but I'm also not a toddler, so, and I don't have kids. And that's the thing, I'm saying, for kids, if I was a father and I had little ones, my opinion might be different. But I don't have kids. I'm a grown ass man, so none of that stuff was really like that great to me. And so I'm fine with Avengers being there. And if you expand out into like, take over the Hyperion or bulldoze it and build something there, and you go further and further into Hollywoodland, you're in Hollywoodland anyway. So for me, that's no harm, no foul. Now, if say Pandora moves into Hollywoodland and it takes up all that area, and now Marvel has nowhere to go, Yeah, they probably should have waited because now you're boxing Marvel in, and there's so much potential there, and you can't go anywhere with it. So it kind of depends on what they do with Hollywoodland. What say you, Mr. Webba?
Um, okay, so not necessarily like it should have waited, but again, I know nothing about like the financials of how when they were building this thing or anything like that. So, but I think that because here's the thing, first impressions are everything, right? And a lot of the first impressions people have of this is that it's okay, it's not really anything like amazing, right? Um, so I think what they should have done. Okay, so what they're doing now, the expansion, I think, in my opinion, that should have already been done when this land opened. So when they were thinking about replacing Bugs Land with this, it's Marvel. Like it's a huge property. It's been very popular since Kevin Feige's been in charge. Since Iron Man. And they know it's a huge hit. Go big with it. And the space they're going to utilize now for the extension of Avengers Campus, they should have already done that to begin with, in my opinion. Now, there could be reasons why they didn't and so forth, and I know COVID happened and all that, right? But I just think they just should have had the 4 attractions, or at least 3 of them, and more of that expansion, they're already there when they built it in the first place. Because the thing that kind of like gets to me is that Disney will build something, and then I get it, right? Like, there's always room for future development, stuff like that, right? But I feel like sometimes there isn't like a full thought, like, okay, this is grand, let's make it grand. Instead, we kind of just have it as a small little tiddly bit. And what also bothers me is when they open a land, like for example, Galaxy's Edge. Oh, we're gonna open it, but then our marquee attraction isn't up. Why? Because so right now you look at Guardians. Yeah, technically it is a part of Avengers Campus, but it's always been still kind of on the edge, like a part before it was even there. That when Avengers Campus opened, it opened up with just the crappy toaster Spider-Man ride.
That's why I wish that they would utilize partial, if not all, partial of Hollywoodland to expand out Avengers Campus, so that way Mission Breakout does feel part of the land. Because I'm the same way. Every time I go by Mission Breakout, I never feel to say, oh, you know what? I feel like I'm in Avengers Campus. I still feel like I'm actually part of in Hollywoodland. I don't know if that's just subconsciously because I'm so used to that being Tower of Terror.
I think so. I think it's a little bit of both, to be fair. I think it's a little bit of both. I think as diehard fans, we know the timeline. We know that, Breakout opened in 2017, and then the campus didn't open up until 2021 or something like that. So we separate that because we've been following everything so closely. But you're right, though. It does feel separate. If you were to expand Marvel out, take over the Hyperion, get rid of the Hyperion, get rid of maybe even the animation building, and start to have Marvel kind of creep into Hollywoodland more. Now, Mission Breakout is in the center of the area. Now it feels more incorporated because now you have Marvel after you pass Breakout, and you have Marvel even before you approach Breakout.
Right. So, it just doesn't make sense to me. Again, why you would just have a small space Marvel's a great property to make a little space for this huge huge IP and franchise, right? You want a much bigger area, at least in my opinion. So I wish to begin with what we are going to get in the future, they already kind of built that to begin with, because obviously they're going to take a lot of that backstage area and whatnot, right, and turn it into the 2 extensions of the extension of the 2 other rides. So I wish they would have already done that in the first place. Now, again, I know there's probably reasons why they couldn't. I'm not saying that there wasn't. I don't know, but that's just what I wish they would have done.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of fixing going on. Like I said, it was a real perfect storm of bad stuff. Chapek wasn't great. Let's be honest, Chapek wasn't great, and COVID, the pandemic, and it just kind of all came at the same time. And a lot of projects were affected by this, even in Disney World, and it sucks. It really does, because now it's always more expensive to go in and try to fix stuff.
Ebba, I want to ask you, because OG and I were talking about this for a future video, and not sure if you'll be able to join it, but I'll just ask you now, just for the sake of that we're on the topic. With the 2 new attractions, with the Stark Flight Lab, do you think by adding that does cut into the space that would have been extended for Infinity Defense, or do you think it would not have mattered that the size that they're going to use by adding Stark Flight Lab is for Infinity Defense, that it wouldn't have mattered?
Can you rephrase that?
Okay, so by adding Stark Flight Lab,
Right.
does that cut into potential of what Infinity Defense is? That what Infinity Defense would have been?
Yeah.
Would that have mattered?
Like basically, like, so you have all that space back there, right?
Yeah.
And originally it was just going to be the e-ticket, but then they said that the flight lab was going to share that.
Well, maybe that's why it's also taken so long to get it up and running too, because maybe the Imagineers thought, oh, wait a minute, we can do another attraction. And George, I remember you brought up the fact that the two attractions could probably share the same type of kind of storyline in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they kind of split it into two to where you do Flight Stark Lab, and then you do Infinity Defense, right? So maybe
that would hinder. Do you think that would hinder Infinity Defense as far as it being like this really supposed to be immersive attraction? Because a lot of people are anticipating this, they're thinking in their minds this was supposed to be a Rise of the Resistance kind of attraction, but on Marvel's end instead of Star Wars. Do you think that this kind of dilutes the e-ticket? See, I can't keep wrapping my head of calling it Infinity Defense. That is like, I'm sorry, that is like one of the most weakest titles to call an attraction.
I mean, no, like, you think it cuts into it, Eva? Or?
No, I mean, I haven't seen anything where like it actually cuts into the ride, right? If anything, I think they'll still do a good job with the attraction. I think they still have enough room for that attraction that they wanted. I think probably just with Stark's Flight Lab thing that there's more room for a new attraction now, and I think they found a way creatively to still create a good ride for Infinity Defense. Because if they don't, I'm so very wrong.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, because if memory serves me correct, I don't think they were going to use that whole back area on just Infinity Defense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really quick, OG, I was added. You can finish your point, but I also remember Ken Potrock mentioning back in that area, oh, there's potential for Avengers Campus and Cars Land. That was potentially for. So Stark Flight Lab could be in the area that was going to be supposedly used for Cars Land.
Right. So they had more room probably than just for the e-ticket. And so they decided, hey, you know what? Josh, he knew D23 was make or break time for him. And he probably greenlit another attraction and said, okay, well, we have room. Why not? Right. Go ahead, Webba.
Yeah. And personally, I don't think Disney would, like, for an attraction that's supposed to be this big, I don't think they would cut into the attraction itself, right? Because of all the kind of storytelling, the characters, the technology. When you're having this be touted as your big e-ticket, you don't want nothing else cut it into that. And so that's just my opinion. And so, but they do have that extra room for that other Stark Flight Lab, and that's why we're getting both.
Yeah, and here's an interesting question for both of you gentlemen. I'll start with you, George. They're building that giant e-ticket Infinity Defense behind Mission Breakout, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a massive show building. Is that going to mess with the scale of Mission Breakout? That thing's going to be right behind Mission Breakout. It's a big building. Like, we've seen the art for it. It's a big building.
Well,
the only way that they can get away with it is depending on how they angle it, I think. And also the color scheme that they utilize, sort of like how they did with Cosmic Rewind. They kind of painted the building to kind of match the sky.
Right.
So I think depending on how they angle the building and the color scheme of the building itself, because that would play a part in it. Because actually, when I was at the parks with Bricky, he was kind of showing me some intricate details that are within the land that people don't even know, and how there was an actual battle within the campus. And whenever we're there within the parks with him, he's going to have to show you because it's.
Did he show you the Hulk tree?
I believe he did, if memory serves me correctly. I think he did.
It's like it's on that like Spider-Man like corridor basically, and it's this weird funky looking tree with a big like bulgy like trunk, and it's like green. And then on the wall they have the what's that stuff called that changed Hulk? I don't even remember, but the green stuff. It's like radioactive or whatever. Yeah. It's like spilling into the planter, and so it's like a whole. It basically the Hulk chemical got into the tree, and it's making it hulky. So it's kind of cool. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. But we'll see. Interesting stuff. I'm very curious. It all depends. We're just waiting to see how, like how they incorporate Pandora and all that, so we can figure out what areas we have left.
What do you think? Do you think that would hinder the scale for Mission Breakout?
So just real quick. So just real quick to the Avatar thing. That's the other thing that would throw me off too. If Avatar was put in the Hollywood area, is that you're walking into Avatar, then like literally right across, like you have Avengers Campus. Like that's gonna really throw me off unless they do something really creative to make that transition, because it's literally just right across the street. So I don't know.
Putting it there is going to throw it off all the way around, because you have Avengers Campus across that way, and then you have basically the Hollywoodland stretch, depending on what that right off of Buena Vista Street. So I'm curious.
Well, I think okay, for me personally, I think going from Pandora to Avengers wouldn't be too much of a crazy transition, because there is a military aspect to Pandora.
Well, so that's if you keep it that long stretch, though, because I'm thinking of like when you're walking down, right? And that's what I'm thinking of. You have like that military stretch going all the way down, and then to the left you have Pandora, but then I'm looking at that big ugly skybox they have back there, right? That ugly cardboard looking, or that building. And then to the right, I'm thinking, okay, Avengers Campus. So then how does the transition in the middle right there work?
Right, exactly. It's a tough fit. It's Symbolot's probably the best spot for it, and we'll see if they go that route. It's really fascinating. But do you think Ebba, do you think it'll mess up the scale with the building behind Mr. Breakout?
I don't think so. I think because I didn't really see was the show building like a big square?
Yep.
Right. So I don't think so. I think they can probably make it fit in with like the kind of campus look, like just on the back end, right? Because like you'll be seeing it from that angle, right? So I think Disney will do a fine job with like having that kind of forced perspective and having like what George said, right? Have a good color scheme to match with it and whatnot. I don't think it'll be too much of a problem, honestly, especially if you add like more kind of like building scapes like on the side or whatnot, right? Like from the concept art that I saw, I didn't see anything wrong with it. It looked kind of like a little like mini city, basically.
Yeah. It's all the execution, basically. That's where I stand with it too. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I've said that about everything, the lands, the rides, it's all about execution. Like you can have a property that nobody gives an ass about, but if you make a bomb ass ride, oh man, people are going to love it. It don't matter.
Exactly.
It's like web slingers.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
George, who the hell loves that? Oh, sorry. Our good friend Jay Shear. Shout out to you, man.
Jay loves it. And I appreciate that. He's 10 toes standing strong with that. He's like, hey, you know what? I love that ride. And that's cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah, he can love it. He's just wrong.
So Italiano, it was an absolute pleasure talking Spidey with you. If you could let everybody home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You could find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram and Threads under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
And you can find me X, formerly known as a usable app. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you can find me on X still, Orange Grove 55, but not that active anymore. And Instagram, Orange Grove 55 for sure. Mr. Webba, where can they find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. Very fun conversation, gentlemen. You can find me on Twitter, Threads, mostly Instagram. That's where I am, Mr. Webba, Webslinger760.
Yes, Mr. Webslinger. Mr. Webslinger. Everybody at home, comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we talked about. The 2 rides going to the Asian parks, Shanghai and Hong Kong. What do you think about those Spidey rides? What do you think about the Avengers Campus situation and the, Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Lab, possible expansions into like Hollywood Land? What are your thoughts? Your blue sky? We would love to hear from you. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.